guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Danielle with Dan Fancy Creations, and before we get started on our tutorial, I wanted to welcome all of my new subscribers. My channel has been growing so much these last couple of weeks, so I wanted to welcome all you guys and let you know that I do have two other groups and tutorial pages besides my YouTube. I have a tutorial group on Facebook and I have a patron group. If any of those will interest you guys, I will link them in the description so you guys can check them out. So for our tutorial today, it is going to be a kind of tropical themed. It is summertime now, so I'm trying to do lots of summer themed tumblers. This one is more of a understated tumbler. It does have glitter, but it is a peekaboo glitter. It is created with different tropical leaves with glitter underneath and then a slight mint green ombre into white spray paint overlay kind of. And then I went back and outlined the leaves with a gold leafing pen. I think it really kind of helped the leaves pop. This tumbler is probably one of my favorites that I've made. It's just classy and perfect. I love how it turned out. So if you guys are ready to see how I created this fun tropical leaf tumbler, let's get started. Alright guys, so we are going to start with a prepped tumbler, spray painted white. I always sand my cups if I am not using a pre-sanded tumbler, and I will spray paint it with a matte white Rust-Oleum. Next we are going to add a thin layer of epoxy on our tumbler. For this particular tumbler, I'm using a little bit of a thicker coat because I do want the epoxy to soak up all the glitter that I sprinkle on so that I can layer my glitters. And once we get all of our epoxy on there, I'm going to take my torch and pop all the bubbles. I typically do one rotation with my torch just to make sure that everything has been popped. So now we are ready to apply our glitter. I am going to use my tea strainer, and I am going to use different shades of green. I'm using Mistletoe from Peachy Olive Glitters. I'll be using Mojito from the Drunk Flamingo, and Irish Buck Cocktail also from the Drunk Flamingo. So I am only going to sprinkle my glitter at the top and the bottom because this is where my leaves are going to go. I don't want to cover the entire tumbler because if I sprinkle glitter in the center of the tumbler, it's really just going to be wasting that glitter since it's not going to be part of the peekaboo. And my tea strainer I did get at Walmart years ago. I cannot find it on their website, but Amazon does have several different options for tea strainers, so you guys can pick one that you like best. So I am just going around the top and bottom with my different colors of green. I am overlapping some of it. I did the darkest color first, so that way I could sprinkle my lighter colors on top of it and it's not going to cover it too much since this is translucent glitter. And if you guys do want to bring your leaves down a little bit further to the center of the tumbler, you do want to go ahead and sprinkle glitter in the center. I just do the edges with leaves this is why I only do the edges with glitter. And I just kind of went around with glitter until I was happy with the coverage on my tumbler. And I did sprinkle some on the bottom just in case I wanted some leaves to overlap that curve. So I was just kind of going back, filling in any bare spots. And that is it for the glitter application. Now, once that layer of epoxy has cured, we are going to apply our next layer of epoxy to cover all that glitter so that it is ready for our vinyl application for our peekaboo process. And be careful when you are applying epoxy to the bottom of your tumblers. You definitely want to make sure the glitter is covered, but you don't want so much that it causes globs on the bottom of your tumbler, making it sit a little uneven. So I always go back and smooth out my epoxy. And then we are going to take our torch again and pop all these bubbles. Again, I pop my bubbles for about 1 rotation. I know it takes about 14 seconds for my turner to do 1 full rotation, so I typically just count to 14 just to make sure they're all popped. So now that this layer of epoxy has cured, I went ahead and sanded the rim and sanded any prickly parts of my tumbler, and I went ahead and printed some leaves out. I believe that this is a purchased file. I think I got it from Creative Fabrica. If I can find it, I will link it in the comments for you guys. And I am going to take my leaves and I am just going to place them around the tops and bottoms of my tumbler. So I am just speeding this up a little bit for you guys. But there's no right or wrong way to do this. I just use whatever vinyl I have on hand that I may have a whole lot of. And I typically buy my white in 15-foot rolls, so I have plenty of white on hand all the time. And you can use transfer tape if you want to apply this. I just used my fingers. Sometimes the little leaves would get a little twisty, but since this is a peekaboo, I wasn't super concerned with getting the vinyl as flat as I could. There were a little bit of raised parts, but it was okay. It worked out fine. And these leaves with the little slits in them, they were kind of a pain, so I don't know if I would use those for my next peekaboo. These little tiny pieces of vinyl would just get stuck in there. So I would just take the very top of the stem and press it down where I wanted it, and then I would press down the rest of the leaves. So just smooth them out as best you can. Like I said, it's not going to be the end of the world if you don't get some as smooth as you would like it, since this is going to be spray painted, and then all of these pieces will be removed anyway. And once we're done with the top of the tumbler, we are going to do the same exact thing around the bottom. I did go back in around the top and fill in any little empty spaces, and I did overlap the leaves a little bit. When you go back and outline the leaves, you are going to have to kind of guess at where the leaves would go, since they are overlapping. You won't really be able to tell once we pull this vinyl off. So once I have all of them on there, I will just kind of take a look at it and see what little spaces I may need to fill in with some extra leaves. And once you're happy with it, we'll be ready to spray paint. So for this step, I am just using Ocean Mist by Rust-Oleum and regular flat white. And you can see Birdie in the background. She always likes to be close to me no matter what I'm doing. So make sure your spray paint is shaken really well. And I am just going to spray the bottom. And I am going to spray about halfway up the cup. This is a very, very, very light blue-green color. It's kind of hard to tell on the video. It looks white, but it is a pale, pale green-blue. It's one of my favorite colors that I use. And when you're doing this, since this spray paint is what is going to be visible, you need to make sure that it is covered really well, or gives you really good coverage. So now we're going to use white. This is just regular matte white Rust-Oleum. And you guys see, I always do a test spray just to make sure nothing is clogged. And I'm going to spray around the top and lightly spray in the center to get that gradient effect. So here I am just checking to make sure I got good coverage with my white. And when it looks good, we will let it dry. And then we will be ready to remove our vinyl. If you don't wait until this is fully dry, then you will have fingerprints on the tumbler, and that is definitely not what we want. So how long it takes your spray paint to dry will depend on the type of spray paint you use, how cold or warm it is where you are. I just always kind of do little test touches on certain areas of the tumbler. For this particular one, I could touch where the vinyl was because I knew that if it was still wet, that vinyl was going to be removed anyway. And then I am basically just peeling it off piece by piece. So as I was peeling this vinyl off, I could already tell that I was going to love this cup so much. I really like the contrast of the green sparkly glitter against the white and green spray paint. So one side down, and now we're going to peel off all of the bottom vinyl. And here you guys can kind of see how some of the leaves are overlapping each other. So when we go back and outline our leaves, you are basically going to have to decide which leaf you want to be on top and which one you want to be underneath. So now that all the vinyl is off, I am going to epoxy this one more time just so we have a really smooth surface to work with when we go back with our paint pens. So now this is a super smooth surface. I either use a gold leafing pen or the Posca gold paint pens. I personally like the color of the gold leafing pins best. I believe that I got this at Hobby Lobby or Michael's. And I am just going around the outside of all of these leaves. I am also tracing the interior little parts, just so that everything has a gold outline. So here is an instant where I had to choose which leaf was on top and which one was underneath. You don't want several different lines going through all of your leaves. And this video is sped up a little bit, so I would suggest going a little slow so you don't make a mistake and your leaves get all kind of jumbled up. But y'all can see here how these leaves are all kind of mixed together, and I am just choosing whatever leaf group I want on top, and those are the lines that are going to be on top of everything else. I hope that makes sense to you guys. So I was testing it to make sure that that paint pen was dry so that I could turn it and it could sit on my cloth and not get smudged. So for this particular leaf, I did overlap the leaf that I did not want to overlap. So I just took a small paintbrush and some acetone and kind of painted that part, and it did come off fine. So if you guys do mess up a little bit of acetone will take the paint pens off. So I am just going to speed this up a little bit. You guys get the gist. We're just outlining the leaves. And if you want to do a different color, you can definitely do that. I thought about doing teal as well, but I decided just to stick with gold for my first one. And once we are done with the top, we are going to go back and do the bottom leaves. If you guys get the gist of this, you can skip ahead a little bit to see how I go back and add the second outline of gold, but I am just going to let this play for those of you that may just need to see it one more time. I know a lot of us are more visual learners, so that's why I try to just include everything. So just in case you need to see it a couple different times, I will do that for you guys. So this is our last leaf. So this part does take a little bit of time, if you guys can tell, but the finished look of it just makes it 10 times better with the outline. So that's why I decided to do it, and I think it turned out really good. Now you can just leave it as is, which I did debate on doing, but I decided just to go and outline it one more time just to give it kind of a funky look. And I didn't outline the entire leaves, I just kind of picked different sections, added a couple little dots to it, just to make it a little bit more fun and not so perfect. Now you guys don't have to do this. If you like the look of the clean lines better, you can definitely just keep the clean lines. But I kind of like the look of the more funky, messy, not so perfect look. So that is pretty much it. How I made them slightly not so perfect, I guess. I don't know what other word to use for just like little squiggly lines. But so yeah, I just went around the entire cup like this, and I didn't necessarily do this to every single leaf. I just picked some leaves out of the bunch and just kind of embellished those a little bit. And once you're happy with how it looks, I just popped it back on my turner. I did not seal this beforehand. I don't ever seal my paint pens. I've never had an issue with them bleeding. But once you're happy, pop it back on your turner for the final layer of epoxy, and then it will be complete. So here are some finished pictures of how this turned out. I love how it looks. It's one of the favorite cups I made for my summer boxes. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I cannot wait to see what you guys come up with. If y'all enjoyed this tutorial or learned something new, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Don't forget to catch the next video coming up that was picked just for you. As always, if you're looking for more tips, tricks, or tutorials, please be sure to check out my Facebook group or my Patreon group. Both are linked in the description. Thanks for watching.